I was standing in line at the coffee shop when my phone buzzed. One message. Just 5 words. I'm a free woman now. At first, I thought it was some random notification, one of those spam texts that pretends to be emotional. But then I saw the contact name. Her name. My wife. My heart stuttered. I blinked at the screen, reading it again and again, as if I had misread it. I'm a free woman. What the hell did that even mean? Before I could type back, another text arrived. Don't come home tonight. And then a photo, a picture of her, hair down, makeup perfect, standing in our living room. Behind her was a man's jacket. Not mine. That's when the air left my lungs. Everything I'd built with her, the home, the trust, the plans for our future, shattered like glass in my chest. I wasn't the kind of guy who got loud or angry easily, but something deep inside me cracked. I stepped out of line, leaving the coffee I hadn't ordered, and walked straight to my truck. My hands were shaking as I gripped the wheel. I didn't even start the engine. I just sat there, staring at her message, trying to make sense of the insanity that had just unfolded in 3 short minutes. I called her. No answer. I texted, "What's going on?" Delivered. Read. No reply. My chest was tight. I wasn't even angry yet, just hollow. Then, 12 minutes later, my phone rang. Her name again. But this time, the voice on the other end wasn't hers. It was a man's. And what he said changed everything. That's when she started to regret it all. If you had asked me that morning, I would have sworn my marriage was solid. Sure, we had arguments, every couple does, but nothing serious enough to set fire to everything we'd built. We'd been married for 6 years. 6 years of holding each other up through bills, losses, dreams, and late-night promises. That morning, she kissed me goodbye before heading to work. She smelled like vanilla and jasmine, the perfume I'd given her for her birthday. I remember how she smiled at me, soft, distracted, and said, "You're the best thing that ever happened to me." I didn't realize that was her goodbye. The signs were there, I guess. Late-night meetings. Her phone always face down. A new password on her laptop. She started dressing differently, more daring, more attention-grabbing. When I asked, she said she just wanted to feel confident again. I wanted to believe her. I needed to. Because the alternative, that she was seeing someone else, was too painful to even imagine. So I ignored it. I played dumb. Until that message. "Took you long enough to answer," the man said. His tone was smooth, smug. "Who is this?" I asked. He laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Let's just say your wife is celebrating her freedom tonight. Don't worry, man, she's in good hands." Then the line went dead. For a moment, I just sat there, my heart hammering. My knuckles were white around the phone. It wasn't jealousy that hit me first, it was disbelief. She had actually done it. She had chosen someone else. But more than that, she wanted me to know. That's what hurt the most. It wasn't some secret affair. She had broadcasted her betrayal. She wanted to humiliate me. And humiliation does strange things to a man. I drove home. I shouldn't have, but my brain was on autopilot. The closer I got, the more my anger built like a volcano ready to explode. I wasn't going there to fight. I wasn't even sure why I was going, maybe to see with my own eyes that it was real. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was there. So was another one, a sleek black sedan I didn't recognize. My pulse spiked. I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel so tight it hurt. Then I got out and walked to the door. It was locked. Of course it was. I'd given her everything, keys to my world, and now she was shutting me out of it. I almost knocked. Almost. but something told me not to. Instead, I walked around to the back, where the patio door was slightly open. I heard laughter. Two voices. Hers and his. Then silence. Then her saying, "He's probably crying somewhere right now." And she laughed. I'll never forget that sound. I stepped inside quietly, my heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. From the hallway, I could see them on the couch. She was half under a blanket, wine glass in hand, smiling like I'd never seen her smile with me in years. It was the kind of scene that kills something inside you. I backed out before they saw me. My hands were trembling, not from sadness anymore, but rage. But not the kind of rage that screams. This was colder. Sharper. When I got back to my truck, I made a decision. If she wanted to be free, I'd give her freedom. Real freedom. But not the kind she was expecting. Because freedom, for her, was about to come with consequences. By the time I checked into a hotel that night, the anger had turned into clarity. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight that man or chase her down. No, my revenge would be quiet, methodical, and complete. She thought she'd broken a man who would crawl back. She had no idea who she'd just unleashed. That night, I started gathering everything, our joint accounts, her credit cards, the house deed, even the lease for her studio apartment she'd been paying for secretly. I'd noticed the transactions months ago and pretended not to. Now, it was time to use them. I moved money. Cancelled cards. Transferred assets she didn't even know existed. She had always left the boring stuff to me. Her freedom was about to get very expensive. 12 minutes after her "I'm a free woman" text, she called again. But this time, her voice was trembling. "Why are the cards not working?" she asked. "Oh, you noticed," I said calmly. "What did you do?" "I freed you," I said. "Completely." She started yelling, panicked, desperate. Apparently, her new boyfriend had just left after seeing her meltdown. Something about not wanting drama. He'd walked out, leaving her half-dressed, broke, and alone. That's when the regret hit her. I could hear it in her breathing. The realization that she'd traded love for lust, stability for chaos, loyalty for temporary excitement, and lost it all in under an hour. "I didn't mean it," she said, crying. "Please, I made a mistake." "Yeah," I said softly. "You did." And I hung up. You'd think that would be enough, leaving her broke and alone. But no. She had burned everything publicly. So I decided to finish what she started, on my terms. She'd posted a photo of herself with him that night, captioned, "Finally free." What she didn't realize was that her job, her precious image, depended on reputation. I sent the picture, along with a few screenshots of her texts, to the right people at her company. Not out of cruelty, out of poetic justice. She'd used betrayal as a weapon. I just reflected it back. Within 2 days, she was suspended pending conduct review. Her world collapsed in slow motion. And I didn't even need to raise my voice once. 3 days later, I got one final text. "You destroyed me." Why? I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back. "No. You destroyed us. I just cleaned up the ashes." Then I blocked her number. That night, for the first time in years, I slept without checking my phone. It had been 12 days since that message. 12 days since my wife, no, my ex-wife, decided she wanted freedom and lost everything in 12 minutes. You'd think the silence after a breakup would bring peace. It didn't. Not immediately. The first few nights in that hotel room were brutal. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, haunted by the memory of her laughter with him, the laughter that used to belong to me. But pain has a strange way of reshaping a man. It burns you, then forges you. By the time a week passed, the version of me who loved her unconditionally was gone. What remained was sharper, colder, and terrifyingly calm. I was done being the man she could hurt. It was a Thursday evening when I saw her again. I just finished moving into my new apartment, a quiet, minimal place near the city skyline. The kind of place you rebuild yourself in. I'd packed only what mattered. The rest I'd left behind for her, or rather, what was left of her. The doorbell rang. I didn't need to check who it was. There was only one person who would dare show up unannounced after everything. When I opened the door, there she was. Her makeup was smeared, eyes swollen, hair tangled. She looked nothing like the woman who had smiled into her phone saying, "I'm a free woman." Now she looked like someone who'd been running from herself. "Can I come in?" she whispered. I didn't answer. I just stepped aside. She walked in slowly, her heels clicking against the floor like a guilty metronome. The smell of her perfume filled the room, a scent that used to mean warmth. Now it made my chest tighten with disgust. She turned to me, tears threatening to spill. I made a mistake. I said nothing. I was stupid, reckless. I don't even know why I did it. He made me feel something I thought I'd lost, but it was a lie. He left the moment things got real. Still, I said nothing. She stepped closer. "Please say something." I finally looked her in the eyes. "You already said everything that needed to be said when you texted me that night." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I know. And I hate myself for it." I turned away, letting her words hang in the air. I wasn't trying to punish her with silence, it was just that there was nothing left to say. She walked around the room, looking at the few boxes I had left unpacked. Her gaze lingered on the framed photo of us I'd set face down on the counter. "Did you ever love me?" she asked, voice cracking. I looked at her then, really looked. I did. With everything I had. That's the problem. She broke down then, sobbing, words spilling out between breaths. It wasn't just about him. I felt invisible. Like I was disappearing while you worked, while life kept moving. He made me feel noticed again. But I didn't realize how much I'd lose by trying to feel wanted. Her confession hit me harder than I expected. For a second, I almost softened. Almost. But then the image of that text flashed in my mind again. "I'm a free woman." The mockery in her tone when she laughed with him. The deliberate cruelty of it. She hadn't just cheated, she'd humiliated me. So instead of comfort, I gave her truth. "You didn't feel invisible," I said. "You just got bored. You mistook comfort for neglect. You wanted chaos, and you found it. You wanted to feel alive, but you didn't care who had to die for that feeling." Her sobs grew harder. "Please, don't say that." "Why?" "Because it's true." She covered her face, shaking. I stood there, watching the woman who once held my heart crumble under the weight of her own choices. After a while, she looked up. "Can we start over? Please. I'll fix it. I'll do anything." The words hung between us, fragile and desperate. I could have said no right then. Ended it clean. But part of me, the darker, wounded part, wanted her to believe there was hope. Wanted her to live with the illusion that forgiveness was possible, just long enough to make her understand what it felt like to lose it again. So I said, quietly, "Maybe." Her eyes lit up. "Really?" I nodded slowly. "But if you want a second chance, you'll have to earn it. Completely." She nodded like a prisoner accepting a sentence. "I will. I'll do anything." I smiled faintly. "Good. Then let's see how much freedom is really worth to you." Over the next few weeks, I played my part perfectly. I let her text me again, call occasionally. I met her for coffee, where she cried and apologized over and over. Each time, I stayed calm, distant. She took it as hope. Meanwhile, I made sure her life was tangled with mine just enough to remind her what she'd lost, while also ensuring she couldn't get back what mattered. She wanted to move back in, but the house was already sold. I told her it was too painful to live there. What I didn't tell her was that I'd sold it to a property investor who was about to tear it down. She asked if we could talk to our lawyer about reconciliation. I agreed, knowing full well I'd already filed for divorce under grounds of infidelity, with evidence she had practically handed me. She was too busy trying to earn forgiveness to see the trap closing around her. 2 months later, she called me to meet for dinner. I accepted. It was at the same restaurant where I'd proposed to her years ago. A cruel symmetry. She arrived early, dressed beautifully, trying to recreate who she was before the lies. When I walked in, her face softened with hope. She smiled nervously, hands trembling. "I just wanted to thank you," she said, voice gentle. "For giving me another chance. For listening." I took a deep breath. "You really think this is a second chance?" Her smile faltered. "Isn't it?" I leaned forward, eyes locked on hers. "No. This was closure." Her face went pale. I slid an envelope across the table. Inside were the divorce papers, signed, sealed, final. Along with the settlement terms. She opened it, and I watched the color drain from her face. You already filed this?" "Months ago." Tears filled her eyes. "Why would you make me believe?" "Because I wanted you to understand," I cut in. "What it feels like to be strung along. To think there's still love when there's only pity." Her lips trembled. "That's cruel." I nodded. "So was you texting me I'm a free woman." The entire restaurant was silent except for her quiet sobs. When she finally spoke, her voice was a whisper. "I still love you." I stood, leaving enough cash to cover the meal. "Then that's your punishment." And I walked out. I expected to feel triumphant after that night. But revenge isn't clean. It doesn't give you peace, it just gives you silence. For days, I kept replaying the look in her eyes when she realized it was really over. There was satisfaction in it, yes, but also a strange emptiness. She called once more after that. I didn't answer. Then she sent a final message. "I don't blame you. I just hope someday you find peace." I didn't reply. Because the truth was, I already had. Life has a way of resetting itself when you least expect it. I poured my energy into my work, my health, my peace. I started traveling again, something she always said we'd do but never made time for. One night, while watching the sunset over the ocean, I realized something: revenge hadn't been about her. It was about me, reclaiming the version of myself she'd destroyed. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. Because I was finally free. 6 months later, I got a letter. No name on the envelope, just my address in her handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a photo. The paper read, "You were right. I wanted freedom. I just didn't know it meant losing myself. Take care of your heart, it's stronger than you think. I'm leaving the city for good." The photo was of her standing on a pier, facing the sunset, the same view I'd been watching weeks before. I didn't feel anger or sadness this time. Just peace. I folded the letter, placed it in a drawer, and whispered to the empty room. "Goodbye." Sometimes, revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about rebuilding yourself so completely that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. She thought freedom meant being without me. But real freedom meant being free of her. The day she texted, "I'm a free woman," she had no idea how true those words would become. Because now, finally, so was I.